at that point, the more power and force you can harness, the more potential for speed your body has. And this isn't just about running fast, it's about teaching the body to harness that power and force and speed and strengthen that process all the way through the different range of paces. So even when you're running slow, you'll actually be more efficient if your range of motion is greater. So if I just take you into movement here and we actually look at your entire range of motion, another thing that we look at is when that trailing leg, the swing leg, comes past the standing leg, I'm really looking for that foot to cross over at or above the knee. And just that single cue right there, bringing that swing leg foot, crossing the swing leg at the knee, is going to create a much more dynamic range of motion and a tighter pendulum, which will actually swing through with a greater ease. So see right now that swing leg's crossing through more at the like right at the shin, right? So like that's.
Here we go. All right, guys. I think we've been on for a little bit. We're just
we're live. We're just not saying anything. Or was it saying something? Well, anyhow, guys, welcome to TRE Live Show 56. Guys, 56. we have an extra special guest. I mean, all our guests are special, but this is actually great because I've been waiting to meet Coach Blue for a while. Nate's been talking about him for a while, and we have him for the whole hour. Or most of the hour.
Yeah, most of the hour.
And he is a much esteemed running coach. We can go through his accolades, but
yeah.
As you know, we've been doing a number of things over the past few weeks. We're going to talk about our training schedule because Nate and I are about halfway through our
we have some
updates,
some fun things to do, some fun little announcements, housekeeping. We like to say before we get into our conversation on running form. Can you really improve it? And of course, we want your questions as those start to come through.
And we see a bunch of people hopping in already. Dave Friswell, Carrie Hale.
Let's say
hello,
hi to
folks.
The beautiful people.
I feel like we get to see our friends every week. Zoom. That's a new one. Hey, Zoom.
Yeah.
My fastest mile is 16:55. That's great.
Yeah, there we go. Tonays, what up from Hampton? Carrie, beautiful in Idaho. Joshua, getting over...
Is Edward saying whoop because he's wearing his whoop band? That's what I want to know.
I think so.
Yeah.
Joy says, what's up? David, what's going on? GDK Mouse, Pedro, Sam. You guys are all doing great here.
Awesome, guys. Well, welcome to another week of the TRE Live Show. You will notice that Nate and I aren't sitting on a hill without having
the full houses.
Any internet connection.
Because we have internet again.
We have internet again. It took us a full day to get our internet back. It was very frustrating, specifically for me.
I think it went through withdrawals.
Yeah, I kind of crumpled into a ball and just like laid on the couch for a number of hours. But
I had a little bit. You had none.
I had nothing. I had zero.
Yeah.
So
how does that, like the inner tech support in you, how does that make you feel?
I felt helpless in a way that I imagine you must feel all the time when you...
Because for me, it was like, oh, this simplifies so much. Like, I just can't.
Oh my God. Without internet connection, I become a very useless human in society. I just take up space.
Nothing to produce.
I got nothing. I got nothing.
Except, oh my God.
All right. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about what we're doing today, since Nate has got the whole live note schedule up ahead of us.
So before we get into today's topic on run form and your ability to get a free run gait analysis from Coach Blue, by clicking that link, that Gleam link to enter.
Right. As always, guys, there's a link below the description, and you can enter our giveaway, which this time is a very generous gait analysis by Coach Blue, which is very in-depth, which you will see.
He did one with me, super fun, so we'll show that when we talk to him a little bit. But just some of our other little updates. Guys, our virtual 5K, our summer virtual 5K is happening the weekend of July 20th, 29th. The same weekend, we are all here in town running the San Francisco Marathon.
Yep.
So you'll get to run with us all over the world. We probably have about 150 people signed up.
Yeah.
We're super stoked about
that.
Which
means we only have about that number of race bibs left, or medals, I should say.
We have a limited number of medals, so if you guys want to get on that, definitely make sure you do. I'll drop the link in the comments. But super fun to do it. You even get a free month, for those of you guys who aren't members already, a free month of training with us.
Yep.
You get to get all of our run form, strength, injury prevention stuff as we go. And we're doing a live 30-day challenge. So the next 30 days, starting this Sunday, we're going to do a nice live training party all the way to the race. It just makes it fun. It's like the community aspect. Like, we used to geek out a lot about the programs themselves. We still do, but we've realized more and more
community.
It's the community.
It's
about you guys.
And we actually have some new programs coming out as part of the training club. The launch date is not certain quite yet, but we're always improving and adding to that. If you have not tried out our training club, there is really not a better time than to get a free month of it.
Yeah,
so
totally. Training tips or training update. We are in week 4 of our advanced half marathon program.
I did not realize how happy I was to be in the rest week.
I know.
I was like, actually, I will take a rest week.
I will
Usually
take a rest
I'm like,
week.
I don't want a rest week, whatever.
Yeah, the last couple weeks have been a push, so this week with a little bit lower miles was good.
We're doing the advanced program, which is significantly different than our normal program in terms of like just
the type of work and quality and everything.
There's a lot more stuff in there. So today, on my easy day, did you do it today?
Did you do today with like the 500, 600, 400? Yeah, that was good.
It said the workout was
with walk breaks. Did you do walk breaks in between?
I definitely took with the walk breaks. And it was like 2 minutes and 30 seconds, moderate to high intensity, then 2 minutes off, then 2 minutes, then 2 minutes off, then 1 minute, 1:30, then 2 minutes off, and all the way down to 30 seconds, and then you repeat that again. And I probably put in about 6 miles total. I walked a good 10 minutes, I guess.
Yeah. Did you do it once or twice?
Twice.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, it wasn't a really taxing track workout. And so I do understand, the point was to put a lot more rest in there, but still get yourself flowing. I actually realized, I am happy when I'm running hard.
I really enjoyed the turnover and the speed. At first, I realized I had that anti-rest in my voice. Maybe I'll just jog my way through. But I kind of hit those intervals with a little oomph. And I was like, I kind of want the rest.
Yep.
So it felt good. But training continues.
Training continues around week 4, moving to week 5. I was really happy with my long run.
Did you have a good long run over the weekend?
I was on the phone for a friend of mine called me when I was halfway through it. I was on the phone and I came home clipping away at 6:35, 6:40s, and I was man, this is not what you're supposed to be doing on a long run. But it was such a beautiful day in San Francisco. It was 75 degrees, crystal blue skies, and I was just in the park talking to a friend, and it just felt good. So I was
just imagine that, but 20 degrees warmer.
Why?
In the North Bay, which is where I did my run.
Not as fun. Such a complainer.
Not as fun.
Just suck it up.
It was, guys, we hit our first triple-digit day, or one of our first triple-digits of the days of the year, up in Marin, 104.
Where he lives, it actually doesn't get warm. In San
Francisco,
it never gets that warm.
It doesn't get that warm.
Yeah.
And we're going to get some hot weather again today.
All right, well, that's our training update. We will be back next week with our second cycle, week 5 of 8. And guys.
And I know some of you guys are racing the San Francisco Marathon. We are going to do a fun little shakeout run the day before on Saturday, so stay tuned for that. We would love to meet you. We have some of our sponsored athletes coming into race. Carlos is going to be coming in. Plus, a lot of our team, Lee, Edward will be here.
And we're a distributed team, so we don't get to see all these guys all the time, so it's great. Yeah.
It's going to be super fun.
Awesome.
I don't have to see this guy's face all the time.
What are you talking about? I'm going to be there all the time. I'm going to be right next to you.
Well, just not.
You think people are just
not
here to see you? That's what you think, right? They don't care about this tech support guy in the corner.
Only when things are broken.
Yeah.
Do they care? When things work fine,
Have you guys noticed that the camera is more angled toward him today? Guess who set it up?
What can we say?
You clipped me out of the frame, man. I see you.
Oh, I have one more. That little nugget of spite reminded me that I have one more update. Now we have a Craig's Crazy Kitchen update that actually I am going to bring to you.
Oh, interesting. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now, normally, Craig is this paragon of intermittent fasting and green smoothies.
Oh boy, I know you're gonna bring. Oh no.
And I was like, man, I just can't keep up with this guy. He is just on another nutritional level.
It's not true.
I don't know if I came in a little earlier today, but I found his secret smoothie ingredients I'm going to bring this up slow for dramatic effect.
Family
The Lucky
size.
Charms.
Family size.
Now tell me the electrolyte content of the magical unicorn
Honestly,
marshmallows.
I just want to tell you, at the store, there were magical unicorn marshmallows, and then there was a normal family size, and then of course there's regular size. Who buys that? And I chose the magical unicorn marshmallows because they're larger, for one. The magical unicorn marshmallow, like volume-wise, is just a bigger mallow, and you want as much of that as you can. Actually, the truth is that he's not telling you is that I'm going to show you a picture here.
Anyway,
I have some house guests. I don't know if you guys can see that. Can you see that?
he's got a room full of Rugrats. His sister's Rugrats.
I got my 2 nephews and my niece, so there's Andrew, Amelie, and Brennan visiting, and so the Lucky Charms were a special treat for them that I also enjoyed this morning. So you know.
So anyway,
Yeah.
you guys are all asking. You look at Craig. You're like,
Hey,
man,
it's
I
my-
wish I could be
it's
more
my
like
rest
him with
week."
his green smoothies. Just remember,
It's my rest week.
just remember.
Uh,
There's a little. We'll have to play this later. There's like a little map to follow. We'll do that. Anyway,
all right, wait.
that's our Craig's Crazy Kitchen
There you
update. Oh,
Yeah, put me back
went a
in
little bit
frame
more
now.
towards you, huh?
All right, so should we call Blue? You have anything else before we call Blue?
I don't think so. And we see you guys' questions starting to come in, guys. We're going to start to get into brass tacks. We're going to give Blue a call here in a second.
Will we ever see a TRE triathlon program? Don't count us out of that game just yet.
I know. Both of our backgrounds in triathlon. I competed and raced a long time. I've still worked with triathletes now. There could very easily be the triathlon experience.
Yeah.
But we shall see. As Edward says, we're getting our ducks in a row with our current things.
Hey Craig, have you been using your Ulu? What is Ulu?
It's probably one of those tech things that you adopt for a little while and then forget about.
I don't even know what that is, Edward. What is Ulu? I'm trying to think. I don't know.
Let's see here.
If you let me know, I'll tell you what I'm using it.
But questions coming in here. Jeff Wiley says, been working for a few months correcting my form. Painful experience, but hopefully it will pay off. Jeff, we'd love to hear you more, especially when Blue gets on, the things you've been correcting. I'm always curious to see like what people's motivations are and what problem they're trying to solve. For example, if you've been told you're a heel striker and you're trying to run on your toes, how you do that thing. Because there's a lot of improvement that we can do with tweaking our run form.
You know, one thing about, and maybe we should get Blue on here for this, but one thing I feel is that, there he is. All right, hang on.
Music.
All right. Let's see.
Hey, Blue.
Hey!
All right, so I don't want to tempt fate to say whether this works the first time, but you guys out there, let us know. Say something, Blue.
I'm here.
Oh, there you go. Let us know if you can hear him loud and clear, and if you can't, we will fix it.
It's always a auditory jungle as we get things set up. But hopefully this will work real well.
Yeah.
Well, Blue, welcome to our live show.
Yeah, and first of all, super excited to have you on here. And we didn't actually do a good job of introducing him. Would you like to give him, because he has a hell of a rap sheet. I was just looking, and the part that caught me was that you ran your first marathon at like a 3:14, and now you've run almost 60 of them, and your PR is it 2:20?
We don't have Blue's image up yet. It's past the delay.
Oh, you're right.
There we go. Now we should have Blue's face on
Now
here.
we're good. All right, so guys, welcome. I want to welcome Blue, and we're just kind of like going over he has a hell of a rap sheet, as I said, and the thing that caught me was that he was a 3:14 initial marathon, or his first marathon, which is a great time, and then over the course of 60 marathons, he now has a PR of 2:23. Is that right?
That's correct.
That is.
I don't know
impressive.
what's more impressive, the 60 marathon part or the faster time.
Well, I have known other people to do 60 marathons. It's a lot of mileage. There's a lot of training. But going from 3:14 to 2:23, that is dropping almost an hour off your marathon time is great at any level. But starting out with a low 3-hour marathon and going to a 2:23 is really, really impressive.
I've got a lot of time, and I'm also really old, so keep that in mind.
Yeah, I think that makes it more impressive. So you're also a Nike running coach for the West Coast. Is that right? And what are the other pieces that I'm missing on there?
So Blue has his own running coaching business, which we'll get into a little bit, called The Lab.
And you're in SoCal, right?
That's correct. Los Angeles.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And the other piece is also Blue really does everything. He's the athlete side, he's on the biomechanics side, he's on the coaching side, and then he's also on the race directing side, running, founding the Malibu Marathon and also the speed projects. We got a lot of great things going there.
You definitely coached a number of athletes varying in terms of skill level and ability in times, but you have a couple high profile clients. Isn't that right?
People like Kevin Hart and small.
Yes.
People know him. I think.
That's really, really cool. And
so why don't we start there? How did you get connected with Kevin Hart, and what was it like to train him for the marathon?
Well, Kevin is he's a self-motivated athlete. He actually came to Nike because he was going around on his tour. He wanted to run a 5K in every city that he was doing his comedy tour on.
Wow.
And he essentially hated running, but he knew it made him a better person. So he was doing this invite to everybody in the city, wherever he was, saying, hey, come run with me a 5K because I don't want to run, so I need you to help me to get out the door.
That's really cool.
And we just basically teamed up with Nike to sort of add some structure because it's thousands of people were coming out to these runs. So we, on the structure side, came in. It's been an amazing partnership ever since then. So
is he still doing the 5K runs?
He's still running, and the thing is, he's always just stepping it up. So he went from running 5Ks in every city to I got to run a 10K. Okay, now I want to do a sub 25K. Okay, now I got to run a marathon.
Wow.
Trained for the first marathon. He did that. Now he wants to run 5 more. I mean, qualify for Boston. The guy never stops. So.
Wow, that's impressive. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so in terms of your you've kind of seen a suite of types of athletes, their goals are different. Where is your sweet spot? What type of athlete do you like to see the best?
I mean, I would say that's a great question. I like to not have a sweet spot, but it tends to be the people that are trying to qualify for Boston, or really they've been running for a while and they're sort of hit that plateau and they can't get past it.
Sure.
That tends to be sort of our specialty. That being said, with Nike right now, we're coaching 35 first-time marathoners for the Chicago Marathon over the summer, all women.
Yeah,
that's cool too. But I'd say the specialty is those people who are maybe sub 3-hour marathoners, or anybody that's trying to qualify for Boston.
Yep.
What has that coaching experience been like? Coaching these first-time marathoners versus some of the more experienced crew. Have there some things that have just kind of pushed you to coach in a different way? Maybe knowledge that they don't have, that they take, that maybe you've taken for granted that runners have that they don't. Because sometimes coaching newer runners it's not. It's just a different experience.
Absolutely. I was just going to say that, take it for granted. I mean, when we talk about fartleks and intervals and all of these words that we use every day, and we live in that world. A lot of these, when it's your first time marathon, you don't even know what 5K pace is, 10K pace is.
Right.
So you have to sort of reframe the entire conversation and dialogue. But for me, it's easy because I didn't come into the sport on that competitive level, so I wasn't running collegiately before I came in. So I understand the athlete who's just out there and they just run for an activity, because that's very much where I was when I started. So.
Yeah. So let's get into that a little bit, and then we'll get right into everyone's questions. What got you into running? Especially, we see athletes at the elite level who've kind of been at the elite level since high school. It's the only world they know. But you got into running a little bit later, and you're in Colorado. What made you want to get into it?
I ran cross country skiing. We ran pre-season to prepare for the race season before the Smith game. But I didn't do that for very long. We were always running around the mountains as kids, and then I actually had dreadlocks, and I was a lead singer in a reggae band in high school, and I was a big fan of Bob Marley. And when I found out, I was reading his biography, and I found out that he would take his band on these disciplines and the stamina, they call them. They would run around Kingston, 18-mile runs sometimes. And I was like, oh wow, that sounds intense. All right, I'm gonna try that, because if Bob Marley does it, I gotta do it. So that was sort of introduction to running as an activity.
Bob Marley.
Where it's a training thing. So
you're the first person I've met.
That is the first time I've ever heard that.
Has been inspired by Bob Marley in that particular way.
Huh.
That's cool.
So that's how I got into it. And then for me, it was always an activity. Like I would run out in the mountains with my dog, and I always just felt free. I mean, and it's still to this day, it's about freedom for me. I could be in a city, I could be out in the woods, and I always just feel kind of connected to that nature of being alive and human, you know. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's I'm still on the whole reggae lead singer thing. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And when was your first marathon? How long ago was that?
So I was 26 when I ran my first marathon, and I honestly didn't know the exact parameters of what a marathon was when I signed up.
Right.
I know it was 26 miles. I knew it was like a long run, and that was pretty much all I knew.
Okay.
I talked to it from a friend, you know, probably pretty typical for a lot of us.
Totally.
As we get dragged into these things. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Awesome. And then at what point did you start coaching?
Well, you know, for me, like I sort of checked the box of the marathon the first time, and I was like, okay, that hurt. Can't walk downstairs for a week. That sucks. Why would anyone ever do that?
Yeah.
I like running, but not that much.
Right.
And then the next year, the same guy that got me into doing it the first time talked me into it one more time. And sort of went that way for a couple of years, and then I got the bug, and I wanted to sort of get better at it.
Sure.
And I was right around that 3:14. I did that 3 times in a row, and I figured that's my physiological boundary. I figured that's how fast my body runs, and I didn't really care either way. And then I accidentally qualified for Boston. I accidentally broke 3 hours, and I remember thinking, okay, maybe I'll train for this and see what I can do.
Wow.
And really into it. I downloaded all the training plans, advanced marathon training plan, this and that, and I ran 24 in 2 years, 24 marathons within a 2-year period. I was reading a lot of stuff, and I plateaued at 2 hours and 42 minutes. That was my new plateau. I think I ran that time about 12 different marathons.
That's incredible.
And I couldn't get past it. So for me, I was happy with my running. You know, I had everything that I wanted from it. And then I met a guy that told me that he could help me with my running. He looked at my running mechanics. He tested my VO2 max, and I blew a pretty high VO2 max. I blew an 85.
Wow.
Which meant me at the time. And he said, hey, you blew a really high VO2 max, the highest I've tested in a long time. What does that mean to you? Or he said, do you run a 2:20 marathon? That's what he said. And he said, what does that mean to you? And I said, not much. He goes, well, it means you run like shit. Pretty bold. I thought I had a pretty good stride and all that. But then he broke it down for me. And showed me what the things about my stride that weren't working for me and weren't efficient. And that just became a linear progression for me after that. It was like a 238, 235, 228, 224, 223. Like my times just went. It was over a couple of years, but my body was able to do things that it could never do. So that process led me to want to become a coach because I wanted to just pay it forward. So that's kind of where I'm coming from as a coach.
That's really cool. Now, it's really interesting because when runners start looking at the run form thing, a lot of times they're doing it because something broke and they had to, right? It's like kind of like, well, shit, now I need to fix this because the way I used to do, I'm being forced to change. And then they have the conversation. For you, it didn't sound like you were you dealing with any like injuries or aches and pains? Was there any things you had to?
No, and I had won a couple marathons. I was doing top 3 in a lot of the races I was doing locally, and I was just kind of happy with where I was at. I'd already surpassed what I thought I was going to do, so I really wasn't looking. And I was organizing the Malibu Marathon at the time, so I kind of had everything going on that I wanted to be going on, and I just wasn't looking for more. I was always trying to get better, but there was just, I wasn't hurt. I never got injured. I was young. I was, late 20s.
Yeah.
So, it was definitely not about injury for me.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's amazing.
That's got to be pretty rare, right? I mean, it's like how many people do you know who kind of come into things that way?
And did 24 marathons in 2 years and didn't have injuries. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's really incredible. Well, really cool. Well, you did a gait analysis with me, and guys, as we go through this, remember we have our live giveaway that we're featuring this week is some quality time with Coach Blue, where he will do a video analysis with you as well. And you can enter by hitting that Gleam link in the description, and you can check out the lab's website. I definitely recommend that, even just for the photography. You get some rad photos on there. A lot of different levels of coaching that they offer that you could really work with him. So if you like this conversation or like what he's about, you can learn more about how to get involved that way. But also, Blue's got a YouTube channel. Check that out. He's posting little helpful videos and tips all the time. Blue doesn't know this, but we're going to try to recruit him to do some videos on our channel.
Let's do it.
But also on Instagram and Twitter as well. So a lot of interesting stuff there with him. Go check those things out, and you might get
Speed your body
a
has.
free gait analysis, which would be pretty cool.
So I'm showing this this video. Is it paused? Hopefully it's not paused. I think it's just paused in the video. This is Nate running, which you guys can see. Like, we just sent him a video. Maybe it is paused. Well, oh, there it is. Okay, so you can see kind of Blue is like backing up and I turned the sound out so we can talk over it. But like, you know, we had him just analyze some video from Nate, and I'm hoping to do this as well. So look for that in your inbox. But I really enjoyed seeing you break it down. If you guys have not done gait analysis, or for a lot of people, the gait analysis that they've done is at a shoe store. So Blue, maybe you can break down a little bit, you know, about like how people do gait analysis and what you've seen in differences between how you do it and how you typically done.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here to have this conversation with you guys, because the reality is a lot of people are in this place of like, there's people out there saying that you shouldn't even think about it, right? Like you shouldn't even worry about how you run. I think if I had come into the sport in a different way and I hadn't had such personal progress in it, I wouldn't have so much passion about telling people that you can actually get better at it.
Right.
The main thing to think about is any sort of athletic thing we do, we can improve on, right? So whether you're playing tennis, playing basketball, it is a skill, or there's a skill involved that you can improve on. So the way I look at mechanics is the same way. The way your body is moving can be improved upon.
Right.
Still within that, there's a lot of argument. Like, is it better to heel strike? Is it better to forefoot strike? And I think those arguments will never cease to exist. But I very clearly can identify 5 different cue points, we call them, for runners to identify with as they're on their runs, to help them start to make changes that we identify are more efficient. And really all we're talking about is two major things that I want to emphasize. It's power, force, into the ground equals velocity forward. That's number one.
Sure.
So your body's ability to create power and force, and your strength, that's what creates you to go forward, right? The other thing is energy return. So your body's ability to capture some of that force and get it back into the body. We call that elastic recoil, right?
Sure.
So that spring effect. So certain things, like if you were to land on your heel with a locked out knee way out in front of your center of mass, that knee joint is no longer a spring.
Right.
The ankle, when you're landing on the heel, is also not a spring. So you've taken out 2 of the springs in your kinetic chain.
Right.
So if I can add the ankle and the knee and the hip all into that spring, elastic recoil part, from an elastic recoil perspective, you're getting a lot more energy return back to every stride.
Sure.
Now, the other side is the power and force. Are there certain movement patterns that are better for creating more power and force? I think we could all agree that yes, like there's certain ways to create power and force. I like to think of it when you're riding a bike. If you could create the same power and force from the heel, I think we'd see a lot more people riding bikes using their heels on the pedals.
Interesting.
That will never happen.
Yeah.
We'll see a lot more basketball players jumping off the ground off their heels.
So
never gonna happen.
So I have a question for you. I mean, I have had notoriously like tight lower calves and Achilles ankle area. Always been very tight to me when it comes to things like squatting or getting into a deep squat. Like I always fight that area of my body. I've also been running for, I don't want to even say now, like 25 years.
Long time.
Yeah, and I put in a lot of mileage as a collegiate athlete, and part of me thinks like, hey, that is the way my body's adapted for that kind of spring. But there's another part of me that wants to have like a more mobile, like lower body to get into other positions, not necessarily for running. But I wonder, am I fighting myself in that way?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think a lot of people are in that same place of, I've been doing this for a long time, maybe have a little bit of a knee pain, but it's not so much that I want to make some major changes and maybe risk a huge calf injury later or something like that.
Yep.
I think the devil you know is always better than the devil you don't, and that's the problem.
Yep.
But the reality is, in your case, it's probably going to be very slight changes for you, whereas somebody that's a first-time runner, their body doesn't have any real marriage neuromuscularly connected, like they don't, those patterns to them, the
blank slate. It is lovely. It's a beautiful thing, actually.
It really is.
Yeah.
When we get newer runners into any of our programs and we just sort of set things up for them to go through, it is just like, oh, they're doing this for the first time. When we're dealing with you guys out there who've been running for 20 years, we kind of have to unpack and reverse some of those movement patterns before we add new ones in.
I took a look at the video that you said, Nate, and I'm looking forward to seeing of my own. But I'd like to kind of are you sure you're familiar with the kind of treadmill, which is not a bad thing, the gait analysis that people get at a running shoe store? And we have a bunch of good running shoe stores here in the area. In fact, there's ones online that you can do, and you can send in video. What is the difference in the way that they will analyze you versus the way that you're looking at it?
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up, because the analysis that you get in the shoe store is very important, because I think there's a place for it. And what they're trying to identify is, when you land, is your arch strong enough to when it collapses and you take that force of the body, does the arch collapse to the point where the knee buckles in, and then causes all kind of problems, from knee issues, IT band syndrome, and so that's called pronation, right? So they're looking for pronation, and how can we give you a shoe that's going to help stabilize the foot on landing and deal with the issues that come with pronation. So there's a place for that, right? And even somebody that's landing on their forefoot, they could have a collapse in the arch and might need a little bit of support in the arch. Right. Ultimately, for me, I think that I really believe that we're all built to run naked through the jungle. I think if you start from there, then you're saying that we're equipped to have everything we need built into our bodies.
Sure. Yeah.
So in that regard, then the shoe would sort of be almost a cast, right? If I was going to give you medial posting in a shoe or arch support in a shoe, that's saying okay, this is what you need right now to get you out of injury, but ultimately, let's get you back to running naked through the jungle.
Totally.
So, that's kind of my whole, belief system, but that's the difference. So what I'm looking at more when I analyze a runner, I'm not just looking at the way they're landing and the pronation. I want to see structurally what is sufficient and what do we need to improve on. And this might be a strength thing, right? You might need to strengthen your glute medius, which I know you guys are big on the strength training for
100%.
runners. So I'm on the same page on all of that, and then there's other things of just cueing the body and really creating new neuromuscular pathways can get the body into different positions that it wasn't in before. And really, Craig, in your case, it would be more of a dynamic range of motion. So a lot of the things that you're doing are working great, but can we get more of a range of motion for you?
Sure.
And then you're faster at the same heart rate. That's, so it might be performance, it might be keeping you out of injury, but ultimately we can all improve on the skill. So
I started competing when I was, I think, in 5th grade, and I have videos of myself in elementary school doing track meets through the school, and when I look at myself as a small kid, I should actually go pull these out. I run completely differently. I ran with a lean. I was a very tiny kid, and then as I kind of see myself through high school and college, I started, my form kind of went up more upright, and I started landing a little bit more on my heels, and that was, kind of in the same time period I started getting stress fractures and stuff like that. So of course there was also tons higher mileage and that sort of thing. But it is interesting, same person, and over time, my form definitely changed.
Yeah, I do like that emphasis that it's not a static thing. It's gonna change. I think a lot of times when we're worried about runners getting hurt when they're tired, it's there's a mechanical
component of that.
Equivalent of that. When you're really tired, your running is not as good.
Yep.
As when you're not. So we have a question. I want to get to some of our users' questions, Blue, and I thought we'd start with Madam Traffic Jam. Oh, how I love YouTube usernames. Could getting tired quick in my lower legs, below knee, be due to my running form? The rest of me feels fine when I run, and I work on my strength, but I wonder about the form. So kind of like a broad general one.
It's very general. It's almost not enough information to draw a conclusion, for. But
fair.
I would say that, your running mechanics can affect anything. I mean,
Okay, so let's actually take this and spin this the other way, because with a lot of our newer runners, they have an issue, but they don't know how to articulate the issue or the problem, right? So when you're a new runner and you're trying to get some help with your running form or other things, and you're hearing about my lower legs are fatiguing, what more information would you need to provide a helpful response?
I think it's a cause and effect, right? So I'm always looking at how much are you running, how much strength training are you doing, I'm looking at the volume of everything and really the percentages of both, right? Like how much strength training are you doing? How much walking do you do? How much sitting are you doing? I mean, if you're sitting at a desk all day and then you go run for 20 minutes twice a week, it's probably the sitting that's having more of an effect on your body than the 40 minutes of total running, right? You're like, oh, all this running I've been doing is really jacking up my hip flexors. Like, probably not the running.
Right, yeah,
it's true.
So giving a little bit more background that way,
Yeah, so the information I'd be looking for is volume, and then also identifying the difference of pain from inflammation to an acute specific point of pain, like the idea of like I'm sore compared to, I have a stress fracture, right, from a shin splint. So that's a big thing. People are always like, it hurts. Well, what are we talking about? Because even running hard hurts, but
totally.
It's a good way, right? So.
You know, I've been dealing with some like lower like shin splint stuff on my right side, and I noticed today when I went out and did those like kind of moderate efforts with actually walking in between. So I really wasn't doing anything other than the warm up and cool down at a slower pace. And I feel so much better today.
Yeah.
Because like when I pick up the pace and I'm going, basically anything sub 6:30 or around that pace, I feel. I mean, granted, like, when I'm not in shape, I can't keep that up as much as I used to. But, like, if I can keep that up and I can stay at that pace, I am way more efficient there than I am running 7:30 or 8-minute miles because now also my form breaks down.
It's funny because, getting to our gait analysis, Blue, one of the things you were saying about mine was I was some general areas where I was pretty good, but there's some areas where I was probably not as powerful as I could be. And I think that was a huge product of, previous triathlon world, and then also we both trained for 50K last fall.
Oh man, that obliterated my
what's
speed.
funny is that, like, on the higher end speed stuff, he can kind of crush me a little bit. But like when we're just like grinding the trails, like I got him all day.
Oh Jesus. It was, I mean, like,
I'll
it's
go
not
toe
even
to toe for you. 10-minute mile on those long climbs in Marin. I got you all day.
I didn't like. We would start these races, and then I'd just be like, just watch them go away. I'm like, I guess I'm by myself for the next few hours.
Yeah.
But thankfully, we're training for a half marathon on the road. So
yeah. So let's do this because we are bouncing around a little bit. I want to go through some more questions, but just to give people a sense, I know you have like. You kind of go through 5 things with your run analysis. Why don't we like review what those 5 things are just to give all runners an idea of just how you do this, and also like I think it's helpful for people to think about because when you said it, these were things that I could all internalize and think about while I was running myself.
I want to integrate this question too, which is Michael Moore asks, how long does it take to improve my form? So maybe you can kind of talk about that as you go through the points.
Yeah. So I'll start with the question. It took me probably a year to really get comfortable with it because I was taking pieces of information my coach was talking for me, and the information wasn't as streamlined. And then what I've tried to do as a coach is really make it a little bit more like, here's a toolbox, take it away, and if I never see you again, this will work for you. And to Nate's point, like this is something that you can think about for the rest of your life as a runner, even by yourself, right?
Right.
So let's go through. So try to like stay in line with the kinetic chain, starting with the head position. The head is, it's a heavy piece of our body. A lot of things happen when you start to move it in different positions. So keeping the chin level with the ground, eyes to the horizon is my identifier as the proper head position. And even more important than that, if I look at a profile shot of a runner, if I see the chin out in front of the forehead, then you're looking up too much, and that can hyperextend the lower back and disengage the lower core, right? So you're getting less knee drive, and there's all these things that happen below the head that you're not thinking about simply because of what you're doing with your head. Yeah. And you see it all the time in late stage in a race where their head just drops back. You'll see it across the finish line. That's maybe the one time it's okay is when you throw your chest across the finish line and the head goes up. Okay, that's cool. But other than that, you want to keep your forehead plumb with your chin, right? So looking for like you're hunting. Number 2 is posture. So your full body posture. And if you were to draw a line, if you had a profile of a runner, you drew a line from their shoulder through their hip, that'll give you an idea of exactly how much their body's leaning and utilizing gravity. And Craig, you were saying how you used to lean forward a lot more when you were younger.
Yeah.
And that's upright. So, I got to back up for just a second and mention that when you land on your heels when you're running, it's not wrong. It's simply walking mechanics. And that's a lot of the same thing when you walk, you're upright. So in order to get the body moving forward when you're too upright, you need to reach the foot out in front of you, and then you land on your heels. So It's not wrong. It's just sort of what happens when you do one thing, right? So that's why posture and forward lean is important, because you want to lean forward to activate the propulsive muscle group, is the back, the glutes, the hamstrings, and the calves. So forward lean, head position, forward lean. Third is arm swing. This one is probably that has the most variety of everything in any given runner. So you have people that are like Picasso, you have people that are anything, and basically something's got to give in the upper body because so much motion's happening from the waist down. So if there's not enough rotation in the shoulder joint, you're going to have something else like a twisting in the torso, right? So I'm trying to get enough motion happening in the shoulder.
Yeah.
And so if your elbow is what's activating more than your shoulder, that's going to force you to twist as well. So there's very simple things that we can all work on with the arm swing, and we can still sort of like have some variation in there. And that maybe there could be an argument for that's the least important, just because from a force perspective, you're not going to change somebody's force production or elastic recoil by changing their arm swing. But what you will do is take out the rotation in the hips, which can be problematic and cause injury. So that's why it is important.
Interesting.
Number 4 would be foot strike, and the most important thing here is that we're trying to land as directly below our center of mass as possible, because when our body fires our leg fires like a piston into the ground, creating that force, the closer it lands to below us, the more force we can create.
Right.
When that happens, you will land on the forefoot. Right. So that's where foot strike, you want to identify why and what part of the foot is better. Forefoot is better because of where it lands in relation to the body. If you can land on your heel below your center of mass effectively,
right.
Okay, and actually MEB sort of does that sometimes. If you want to look at like a pro runner that actually sort of has a heel strike that works, you just somehow can almost get that that leg underneath them and land on the heel. But it's very rare, and the identifier there is you're landing on the ball of the foot below the center of mass. And it leads us to our 5th cue point, which is sort of extra credit, but that's our hip angle. And when you're coming off the back leg, the swing leg should be knee forward, and the angle between the hip to knee and hip to knee, the greater the angle, the longer the stride, the more you're flying through the air, the longer you're airborne per stride, and your front foot is higher for longer, which creates the opportunity to create more power and force on the ground. That one is only present when you're running faster. So that's kind of what I call the extra credit one.
Gotcha.
So when you're warming up or cooling down, you have a really acute hip angle, and that's absolutely acceptable and actually. I have to give you one extra credit one, which is probably as important as the other number 5, which is why I don't put it in the 5, and that's cadence. And you guys both talked about your running, and you guys are both coming from a lot of running, and you both have great cadence. I'd say probably 95% of the runners that we deal with their cadence is too slow.
Yeah.
And so if we give them more steps per minute, that's probably the single most beneficial thing that we can do for the majority of runners. And I'm sure you see it all the time, this loafing stride. You're driving down the street and you see runners going by and you're like, ew, doesn't look too efficient, right?
Right.
So that's my sort of big one, extra credit one. So.
Yeah, I've personally played with cadence a fair amount, and I actually was working with a coach like years ago where I was actually running with a metronome for a little while and just kind of playing with it, and I kind of cycle it in every once in a while as a tool, but it was really profoundly effective.
Helped your dancing too.
Yeah, helped a lot of things.
It was pretty bad.
Helped my dating life and helped everything. But what was so interesting to me, especially in the cadence thing, was like finding a rhythm and staying on it was difficult. But I also realized that when I started, will you please? I am trying to
have a serious conversation.
On the coaching side. When I started to fatigue and stiffen up, my shoulders started to get tired, my breathing changed. It affected my ability to maintain the cadence, and so it really got me thinking that, okay, for this to happen, everything else needs to be happening really well, and it just kind of got me into this like virtuous cycle of good stuff. You have any more sassy things to say?
No, I closed
Not
it
right
down
now.
because I got scolded.
Yeah. Remember this? Remember this?
I can't believe he went into my kitchen and pulled out my Lucky Charms, man. It's a euphemism for something.
Oh my God. Well, we have a few more good questions in here. Carrie says, question for Blue. If you could only do one marathon during the year, which one would you choose?
kind of getting off into
That's
some
great.
other areas.
The Malibu Marathon.
Yeah. It's a beautiful one for sure. It's only half marathon these days, though.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. I would say Boston, just because to me it's just a heritage piece. I mean, for me, like when you're running in Boston, there's a connection that you feel to the sport that I feel like you only feel it in that city. And I really do love big city marathons. I also like doing the mom and pop, small ones as well. But if I could only do one, I think it'd be Boston.
Nice.
Cool. Any trail marathons or races you've done? Have you delved into the ultra
Nobody
world?
likes that slow trail stuff. What are you talking about?
I haven't done I did one 50K Quicksilver ultra marathon. That was the only 50K I've ever done, but I have done a couple other ones in Colorado where I'm from, and up to 12,000 feet and back down. Yeah, they're awesome. I need to get back and do some more trail because it's sort of where I come from. So it's on the list. Yeah,
I love it. Where did we get a question? I think it was Jackie. This is kind of a little more technical one. She says, any tips for someone with a meniscus tear trying to get back at it? My form has caused IT band and hip issues and eventually caused the tear. I heel strike when I try to go faster.
Yeah. It's interesting in science is that you rarely have such clear data that you can say without a doubt 100% I suggest you do this.
Right.
But I have had hundreds of athletes that I've done form makeovers on, and it's bizarre to me of all of the people with knee injuries and knee issues when they go through a form makeover.
I love that term.
There's no more knee issues, and that is crazy to me. Yeah. And so it's when she said heel strike and then meniscus tear, I was like, okay, well that's just, and it's not just the heel strike, but it's how her body is, when her legs aren't landing below her hip, they're coming across the center line, so it stretches that IT band that's pulling on the knee, and this is one of my favorite things to do, to stand in front of somebody and jump off the ground like 4 inches, land on your heels. And you'll see a shockwave go up the entire kinetic chain, and your cheeks actually shake.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good.
It doesn't feel good, right? And then you jump up as high as you can, land on the balls of your feet, and there's no shockwave. And it's a great demonstrator of, how do the impact forces affect your body depending on where you land on the foot. So,
right.
If you need any sort of proof, there's your proof. So.
I think that's a really good point, because we all have to remember, like, we weigh what we weigh, and gravity does its thing. And, like, to a certain degree, like, the impact hitting the ground doesn't change. We're just trying to redistribute that shockwave in different places and then trying to get our body to absorb it and return it in different ways. I don't know how much the layers of rubber really even matter that much.
I mean, over time it feels like the constant. We always say, like, shoes will do stuff, the KT tape will do stuff, the bandages will do stuff, whatever, the wraps, all the stuff, but ultimately it's your body.
Totally.
That's the constant.
Yep.
So then a big conversation we always like to have is around, like, strength training. For someone like Jackie, obviously she has some, like, run form things to work on, but, like, if you were to hear, okay, like, IT band issues, collapsing hips, like, what are some, like, go-to strength things that you would recommend for her?
I would say the key word for me is activation.
Yeah.
And the reason I use that word is because, and a lot of us know what activations are, but I've had a lot of athletes who are super strong and spend a lot of time in the weight room, and then they run and, like, all the wrong things happen.
Yeah.
And so just being strong isn't enough. You need to be able to activate the right muscles at the right time.
Sure.
So I think part of the way to approach strength training for running or any sport is to have functional strength training, working the muscles through the range of motion that you're going to be using them for. And that doesn't mean you don't want to work other ranges of motion through different planes. Obviously, we want to be strong, as globally as we can. But for example, like if my glute's not firing, I'm not going to create the same power and force. So if I'm in the weight room, I need to feel and activate those glutes. And so whatever it's going to take for me to activate that glute, sometimes it's just doing a Superman, sticking that leg out behind me and doing circles with my leg with a straight knee, and just until I feel that glute activate. Now all of a sudden, wow, I have glutes, and now my brain can activate that while I'm running. So, there's an array of exercises for every different muscle and every different, it's endless, right? But I think the main things to think about is activating the right muscles.
I love it. That's good. That is such an important thing.
That concept was new to me before I started working with you. Actually, the idea that like you can have muscle tissue, and in certain movements, like you can even build that muscle tissue, but then in other movements, you just don't have the kind of neurological chain and like the nerve pathway to actually say, hey, like, during this movement, I should be engaging this part of my body, and so it doesn't fire, and it's almost like useless weight.
Yeah. So,
No,
go for it.
So I was going to say that's a great time to bring up just something like your hip position. If you have an anterior tilt in your pelvis and you're sort of disengaged in the lower core, it's really hard to fire the glutes. And so that's just that neuromuscular pathway of getting that, tilt that pelvis back on, engage the core, belly breathing, like all these things go together, so it's pretty awesome.
Yep. Amazing. Well, we have a few more minutes, guys. Remember, if you're just tuning in, we are talking to Coach Blue, who is the head Nike Run coach for the West Coast, and also the founder of the Lab, which is his own coaching company.
And if you want to check out any of that stuff, as always, we have our giveaway, and we're giving away a free run form makeover. I like that term. Run form makeover for one of you lucky guys, and we'll be doing the drawing next week, but you can enter right now.
Yeah.
And you can also check out Blue's stuff through that Gleam link. So hit that link below and get yourself signed up.
Now, some of us were really interested. We got a few requests, especially from our man Edward, who are really fascinated with the Speed Project, and we would be remiss if we left today's conversation without talking about this, crazy, wacky running adventure through the desert.
Yeah. So it started with an idea. A friend of mine, Niels Arendt, he's a crazy German, and he just wanted to run from LA to Vegas, and I think I was the guy that sort of validated his idea. He told me, I think he'd been telling people for years, and when he told me, I was like, oh, that's a great idea. So we got together a group of 6 runners, basically because it was all we could find to run it, and it ended up being 4 men, 2 women. Yeah. And I was only interested if we could basically set a record from LA to Vegas. I want to see how fast we could do it. And I had raced the Tahoe Triple a number of times, and I had won it a couple times, and I love these sort of like ultra distance races, but also running fast. So we set about doing it. We had a really strong support crew. We created a really comprehensive map, knowing that we couldn't run on freeways. We had to find like the most direct route. And we did it, and it was brutal, and it was about 60 miles each over the course of about 40 hours the first time we did it.
Yeah.
And we were just beat up, and it ended up being like 2 years later, somebody wanted us to do it again, but they wanted to bring some other teams. We had 6 teams the second time we did it. Next year we had 20 teams. Well, this past year we had 40 teams from 20 different countries. And it's sort of become a thing. And they shattered the course record by 20 minutes this last year, 30 minutes this last year. And now, it was actually the French team. Tracksmith was out there. Strava had a team.
That's awesome.
It's become a thing.
And the film of it, that was the first time?
That was the first time.
Yeah, I watched that before. I'd never even heard of you before. Like I found that, I don't know, a year ago maybe. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah.
It's a 17-minute video on Vimeo.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And are we going to see a Speed Project 2019?
I think we've landed on we're actually going to do it. So we never wanted to do a race for the sake of having a race and to create another event, because we're just not really. I had organized the Malibu Marathon. I got that out of my system. Didn't really care about race organizing, and Niels really has no interest in it. But it was the type of thing where it was something that meant something to people, and if they could have a takeaway for them that was as real as what we had, then we said to ourselves, well, then we'll keep doing it. And after last year, we had people from Tracksmith walking up to us saying, I've been involved in competitive running for 15 years, and this is one of the coolest things I've ever done.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's things like that where we're like, okay, well, maybe we should keep it around for a little bit.
Yeah.
So.
Very cool.
If you guys are interested in an in-depth play-by-play from one of the runners who ran it, Mario Fraioli on his Morning Shakeup podcast interviewed, I think his name is Jason Ayer.
Yeah. Of Tracksmith, right?
Yeah, of Tracksmith. And basically Mario just geeks out with him for like 50 minutes. Like, all right, like step by step, how did this thing go down? What happened with the team? How'd they feel? How much they ran? Cool. They started running like 7-mile legs to running like half-mile legs towards the end, and they were neck and neck with this other team, and I think they exchanged leads like 40 times or something absurd.
It's crazy.
So this super long thing, kind of like a Ragnar relay, but like for them, it had this level of intensity there. Maybe last thing before we leave this, because we have a lot of runners who are like, well, that sounds really cool, but I'm not this super intense runner. Is that something that is like, were there like kind of newer runners, people with different goals coming in?
I love you said that, because really what the Street Project is no rules. And so what we wanted it to be is, with Ragnar and all these different, you have like this many legs and this many runners. You can have as many runners as you want. You can break up the legs however you want. And we've actually said, if you can find a faster way to Vegas, take it.
Wow.
So it's really about like whatever you want this to be for you, you can make it into your own journey.
That is cool.
So I think that's a really big part of it.
That's the MMA of running.
That's
like
awesome.
It.
Well, Blue, thank you so much for taking the time and talking to us and answering your questions. Guys, remember, you can find more about Blue in that Gleam link. We have links to his YouTube channel, his Instagram. You can follow him on Twitter, and of course his website if you want to get more into his coaching and other things he has to offer. And we will be doing a drawing at the end of next week's show. One lucky individual will get a gait analysis with Blue.
Yep, absolutely. Guys, thank you. Sorry, actually, we have a couple more minutes, so we're going to do the drawing. Do we have a drawing?
Yeah, we got to do our drawing.
We got to do our drawing. But Blue, thank you so much for joining us. And then, I'll look forward to talking to you soon.
Cheers.
Thank you. All right, so we're back to
the
two of us.
Just
Welcome
the
back,
two.
Guys.
Let's see here.
We actually, because we had
we don't have a giveaway.
We don't have a drawing to do. We do have a giveaway that you can enter. But because last week we were out without
things.
We were back into like 1985 with no internet. It's actually not, since we got to do it from our phone, which is kind of an amazing thing. We don't have a drawing this week because we didn't start anything last week. But make sure that you enter that thing below, because guys, that is a few $100s for that form makeover. It's a huge deal that he's doing that for us for free. So
and we're really excited. We really like Blue, and as I said, I'm recruiting him to do some videos for our channel. So hopefully, Blue will start to show up on some of your little videos
onto
there.
YouTube. Yeah. Other than that, it is 1 o'clock on the dot, which that means it is time for you to go get a high protein snack. And maybe that's just me. Here he goes again.
High protein snack.
What is the protein content on that?
I don't know.
It's high. It's high. It's 2 grams.
2 grams of protein.
And I have usually at least 3 or 4 servings, so that's like 8 grams.
That must be the magical unicorn protein.
Yeah. It's all in the horn. Yeah.
Anyway.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. We always enjoy this hour. We will see you guys again. Actually, are we going to see him next week? Yeah, we will see him next week.
I will see you next week. There.
Oh.
I'm going to be camping.
Well, I guess you just see me and my Lucky Charms next week. Maybe we get Holly in here.
Yeah, we do.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us.
Later.